Welcome to Uber Cube, the podcast where we discuss all things Cube, but with refreshments. This is your host, Anthony Adams, a.k.a. Uber Bear, and today, we'll just go ahead and skip to it. We've got a special guest, a friend of ours. Say hello, friend of ours.
My name's Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
I was like, is that dramatic effect? What are we doing here? May will be here shortly. She's tied up in traffic. How about yourself, Stu? She'll hop in like...
Well, I'm not tied up in traffic, but I'm here, and it feels good. It feels like it's been a while.
It has been a while.
It has been a while.
It's not a while for me, because I'm always editing these episodes. Very much a while
That's
for
true.
the recording of these episodes. So
Yes.
we try to get a little ahead.
Yeah.
But we are now fast-tracking, because this is one of those ones where we roll out an episode... and Anthony's got to crank this thing out before Monday. And I figured before we go into this episode, I kind of want to talk about something that happened pretty big this week. Matter of fact, yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Share.
Yeah, dude. I 3-0'd 6-0'd. For most people, that's not a big deal. For me, that's like momentous.
All right, tell us about it. Which cube? Who did you play? And how much did you pay them?
I played the graveyard shift.
Okay.
Which is like the cube that I suck the most at. Like, really, like, I went even there passing it out. What's it? Phyrexian Reclamation. The last time that I won this cube, Chris's Sandwich's cube, was he and I were bar cubing with it, and he had Phyrexian Reclamation in the cube. And I went nuts with it. I beat him. That was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. That is the last time that he took it out immediately, and that is the last time that I've ever won a game in the graveyard, or the graveyard shift, I think that's what he calls it. And the comedy was, last night when he handed out packs, he had seeded in Phyrexian Reclamation into my pack. So I slam a jam, a pack one, pick one, that
Dang
sucker.
straight.
And he's like, whoo, I just want to see you do it. And everybody's laughing because everybody at the table knows that this is in here except for me. I'm the last one showing up. And I didn't even play it. I just played a mono blue deck that was just sleek. I know. I went nuts, and I just controlled the board. So I have to do my one little victory lap, because this will be the last time you'll hear Anthony say he actually 3-0'd 6-0'd for the next 6 years.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a momentous occasion. Big moments.
Yeah, it's very seldom.
In your
It felt
cube playing career.
Yeah, dude.
And it'll never happen again.
It will not happen again.
Never happen. It's one of those unbreakable records.
The last time that something similar happened, and we're going off on a little bit off topic here, but we were at the Capital Cube Champions, and I think I told this story where I got to the top 8 table, and I was hanging out with Anthony Maddox, who just bought me a beer. We're sitting there hanging out, and they yell at the door, Anthony, and I go, I guess it's you. And they go, Anthony Adams. I'm like, still you, I think. And he goes, no, that's pretty sure that's you. And then I had to sit at the top 8 table. So yeah, I very seldom win at Magic. I'm actually a bad Magic player.
I disagree.
Well, I don't take it too seriously. How about that?
That's probably more accurate.
Yeah, I'm not here to.
I'm not taking it too seriously.
I'm not taking it.
No.
Well, Brian, welcome to the show, and hi,
Yes.
May. May has now popped in.
Hi, May.
Hi.
Hey, Nate.
So, May, how was the traffic? We said you were stuck in traffic. Here you are, just to catch you.
Sure, let's go with that. I definitely wasn't fighting the White Throne. And
A little bit of a backup.
Yeah. Just couldn't get out of there.
So, we're going to do a fun one today. We're going to talk about Strixhaven. Again, we've kind of made fun. Spoiler season, we get hit like tidal waves every couple of weeks. But this one, I'm really excited about. Just like I was excited about Lorwyn, but I'm even more excited about this set. This set, I think, brings a lot to the table. And so we don't do set reviews here at UberCube. We do talk about cards that we are going to add to our cubes, what we think might be interesting, and what I tried to do this as I was looking at these cards, and we're going to kind of fast track through some of them, which will be included in the show notes, and I will encourage the listeners to take the time to look at Scryfall, because some of these are going to get wordy in today's modern Magic, right? We're not going to spend all this time reading every single card, but I think some of them are noteworthy and worth talking about. And we're going to kind of apply them to a broad spectrum of cubes that you, the listener, can kind of apply that to yours. Yeah. So we're going to talk about maybe Power Vintage for a second.
And a mechanic. Because there's a mechanic that's kind of overarching that is quite representative of something pretty crazy that Wizards of the Coast and their design team have done with this set. So I think that's worth a mention as well.
First thing I want to do before we progress into talking about particular cards is there's two things that I always do. And the first one I will say is, it's actually three. I always look at Usman Jamil's articles. If I can catch those in time, those do and have impacted my decisions as to what I'm going to add to the cube. So anybody listening to this, I will include the show notes of Usman's latest article talking about Strixhaven, but I do highly recommend you follow and subscribe to Usman's articles. I also do look at the MTG discussion boards that are people from like Steve Mann and White Wolf, etc. And I like looking at those for Powered Vintage because sometimes they just kind of give me a vibe of a card. I like that. So those are the two kind of my go-to resources when I'm doing, because evaluations in this set, and I'll ask you this, Brian, before I talk about the next thing. I think card evaluation in this set is quite difficult, actually. Some of these cards can be deceiving if you're looking at power min-max on the conversation. They can pull you in. Would everybody agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Especially when the card's printed with the words Ancestral Recall on it. You get a certain vibe. Depending on who you ask, half the internet thinks they reprinted the Power 9. And we all know that's true.
Yeah, I do think that that's a little bit of a sucker punch, that they are getting people with stuff like the word Lightning Bolt and Path to Exile and Channel, and then that will draw people in. But then I'm going to tell you on the other side, the other hand will say, well, that's quite okay because these cards are very flavorful, and then you get to see something really cool and dynamic for having, pulled it off. I think a lot of these cards that have the prepared function that we're going to talk about.
That's what I was going to say,
are memory-making cards.
Yes.
They have a lot of potential to do some really fun gameplay experiences, in my opinion.
I agree, and I will actually add that I think this is really good. I know that there's Vintage Cube naysayers out there and kind of dislike the fact that Vintage has kind of been the poster child of Cube for a long time, but I don't know if there's many people out there who are not familiar with what Black Lotus does or Ancestral Recall, but maybe there's going to be a potential uptick in Vintage Cube and therefore just Cube in general interest, just based on the fact that people might be like, oh, cool, I've never played with a Black Lotus or an Ancestral before or anything like that, and now I get to see how powerful it is. What other format is out there that I can use it in where I don't need to spend, 10 mortgage payments to buy a Vintage deck?
So taking a pause real quick before we come back to that, the thing that I do that I wanted to share, and this is also included in our show notes, and it's just as simple as an Excel spreadsheet. What I do, Anthony here, when I see cards like on day one beginning to get spoiled, I type in the ones that are interesting for me. I don't wait for total spoilers. I mean, I know a lot of people wait for total spoilers and they sit back and decide. I find that personally can be a little overwhelming, and or I forget things when I place my orders for wherever my, your favorite place or your LGS or whatever, that, oh crap, I totally forgot to order that one card thing. So what I do is I build myself, a would-be grocery list. And so I do this basically tab based, like you'll see Artifact Cube, Horror Cube, Power Cube, Munson, Fem, Two-Headed Giant, on and on. And I'll just have those, and I'll type in little cards and what their mana values are. Not anything more than that. I just want to know that I'm flagging them for future reference, because once the whole suite of cards, sometimes 220, 250, whatever that magic number is where they land, for me, it can be a little overwhelming and I will miss some pickups. So I'm just trying to save myself some shipping costs.
I'm almost surprised as well that you don't have the type in here as well. Not necessarily that you're trying to be so particular and consistent when it comes to each of the types of card. You're more of a color number kind of guy, right? You want 50 blue, 50 red, whatever. But that might give you a bit of a metric as well as the mana cost to be like, okay, here, this is a 3 colorless and a red creature. I'm gonna look maybe in that similar range for a replacement. I don't know if that's part of the process.
All I do is I get the spelling right, and then whenever Scryfall, generally by the time the full release is out, has these cards uploaded.
Yeah, then but at least if that's a consideration, if you're trying to remain consistent, that might be a valuable piece of information.
I just copy and paste my names from my Excel spreadsheet into Scryfall, and it, just boom, there's the card.
There you go.
That's how I'm doing it.
You're not linking them as well dynamically? Come on now.
But I wanted to share this as a tip and trick to help people digest spoiler season as cards come in.
Well, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 cubes. Here on this little excerpt from the spreadsheet. I have 10 cubes.
I eventually just gave up because I felt like I was... And I will tell you that this list now is much smaller. And this is the post reading Usman's article and reading other resources and or watching like pre-release videos, etc.
Yeah.
Just to get a vibe for cards.
Yeah.
So I make a Christmas list and then I kind of do X's out on the Christmas list as we progress.
So Brian, let's ask, first of all, we pre-gamed just for a few minutes before we started. You obviously have said that you really, really like not just the card, but the art. Like, there's so many things to love about this. Let's talk about, first of all, how many cubes you have, and then what kind of numbers you're potentially looking at as far as replacements for this set. And you got a smile on your face now that makes me think that this might be a long list, possibly, question mark?
It's the answer to how many cubes, and it depends on who you ask. If you ask my wife, I have 1,000,000. If you ask me, I have just like 5. If you ask my desk, where if I point the camera down and you saw my desk, it might look like I have probably about 10. I think I have, I would say confidently, like 4 that are like ready to play in rotation, and people want to ask about or play. As far as the second part of that question, cards, there's quite a few. I think this set's really exciting. I found that number 1, a road, fantastic card. I think it's going to be in probably like my everyday cube that has like no restrictions. It can have one-off mechanics, very low to the ground, very similar to like Andy Mangold's Fun Magic cube. But then a few others, I like I was just looking at it because I sleeved it up. It's the bird, Sky Coach Conductor.
Yep. You're skipping ahead of our show notes, Brian. We got you covered, buddy. Hey, yeah. Brian, I think it's a good time to take a pause, too, since the listeners haven't met you. So one thing, let's start out. We met at the first CubeCon. And right. We had a great time at the first CubeCon. We had hung out, and then you were actually there whenever the tragedy happened to Anthony, and my father had passed away, and then you became part of our lives at that point, and we have become friends and have joined each other for multiple events and whatnot. What's your history in Magic?
History in Magic. I remember my first memory was cracking open a pack of Torment and getting an Icarid. Or an Icarid. I know it's Icarid now, really but good. When I was younger, I thought it was Icarid. But yeah, cracking an Icarid and then going, this card's awful. What? What? Like what? I'm 12 years old, right? Like I had no idea. I'm like, this is awful. Why it requires it to be dead? Like what's going on? But then, understanding how Icarid's actually a really good card and evolving from there, not just my Vampire Phantom Neshoba deck, my kitchen table deck. Then I took a break probably around right after Lorwyn came out, the OG Lorwyn.
Yeah.
Sold some cards, and then my little brother texts me one day right after he starts playing and says, "Hey, you want to get back into Magic?" And then I've just been full send ever since, which is here we are.
So yeah. We're going to kind of talk about, back to the listeners, just want to give them a little bit of background. We're going to talk about the Secrets of Strixhaven, which we're going to talk about and you've kind of alluded to some of the cards you're interested in. I think we'll kind of talk about these cards, and I've got them on the list. And I think what's interesting about this set is it does fit the Power Maxed. It does fit the thematics. It does hit stuff like my Artifact and Horror. It also hits Pauper and Peasant, which I know that can happen in a lot of sets, but I think this set has a much wider brush than some. Like Lorwyn, that was May's Magical Christmas Land, but whereas some people, in a horror genre cube may or may not have had more or less or Artifact or whatnot. This cube's a lot more has a robust amount of mechanics and cards, and it's broad. It's broad. So I think there's a lot of things in this set for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great set if you are a first-time listener or new to Cube, for you to have opportunities to build a cube, especially with stuff that was Power 9 or reserve list that you can get on these cards that maybe you won't be able to have the card, but you can do things with these cards. You're like, I don't know, even a piece of tape if you want a Wheel of Fortune. I mean, it's printed on there. Yeah. All you need is now some Sharpies, and you're not making an illegal Magic card. It's pretty neat, actually. So let's kind of get to it. Let's start out with the one that everybody loves and everybody hates in the same sentence. I've got some cards that I have looked at for, yes, Uber Bears powered 540. And I'm going to name some of these cards. Hold, please. Stu wants a drink. I got one for you right now.
Well, actually, I was gesturing because what we haven't done today that's kind of our staple is our drinks of the show. So I'm going to start out with our esteemed guest. Mr. Brian, what you got for us today?
Yeah, I have a local brewery, High Grade. They're a Belgian double. They call it the Dom. And enjoying that today.
Very nice. And the wonderful, beautiful May, what you got for us today?
I'm just sipping on some Earl Grey. It's a little cold, but still Earl Grey. So.
Cold Earl Grey.
Cold Earl Grey. He's like the worst neighbor.
Listen, when you're stuck in traffic for that long, that's all you can muster. You got to do what you got to do, you know.
And I'm having a Wicked Weed Blue Raz Burst. It's a sour. How about you, Stuart?
Well, this is straight from Anthony's little 6-pack that he brought over. Thank you, Anthony. And I got me an Angry Orchard hard cider. It's the Tropical Storm. I'm on a cider kick right now.
Yeah.
The summer is well in force here in North Carolina, so I'm excited.
I went cider shopping. It was a little fun.
Very nice.
Sours and ciders is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
All right, now back to Uber Bears 540 powered vintage. Although, you know, a lot of people would argue this is power maximum within the boundaries of what you can do with the slippage that you will see in a 540. So these may not apply to your 360 and your 450 because as you climb up that hill in your power maximum levels there, some of these cards would just not cut the mustard. But for me, I get to have the air quotes sometimes chaff, and I like that. I like the diversity and what you can have. So we're going to start at the first one here. You kind of talked about it, a road. Brian, a road is an everyday card. It'll just show up. I mean, a road, for those that don't know, it's an instant that costs 1 planes. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Nothing fancy about this.
Nothing fancy about this?
The art is sick.
I would beg to differ that there's nothing fancy about this card. We're kind of expanding the trifecta of premium single mana removal spells. This is now, you've now got Swords to Plowshare. It was always Path and Plow, and now it's Path, Plow, Erode. If not Plow, Erode, Path.
Right.
And Oust and Bolt. I actually made a comment when I saw this card. I know, I was going to talk about Oust in a minute, but I made a comment in our Ubercube Discord whenever I saw this card. I said, why are we even bothering just not playing one-drop Magic anymore? Like, it was me being sarcastic, but as we're seeing these cards, I'm like, why do we even bother with the number 5 anymore? Why are we there? We don't. 2026, anything costs more than 3 mana.
Well, okay,
That's our boomer.
let me, facetiousness aside, Erode is a destroy and not an exile, so it does, you know, is it on the same level as Path and Plow? No, obviously not. And Oust, I'm a big fan of Oust, but this is a hyper-efficient card. It's going to end up, or it should end up, in every vintage cube. Obviously, this is a discussion about 540 powered, so for me, this card is one of the standout for this set.
I would say it's boring if it wasn't for the art. The art's what makes this card interesting to me. This art is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, and I think
I agree. I'm staring at it right now. It's a really good card. The art's stellar. I think this will be a vintage cube mainstay for years to come.
I'm going to go so far as to say, and I'm skipping ahead on my own personal show notes, because of the art and the depiction of someone, looks like, I don't know, whatever it is, sunlight bursting out of its chest, multiple arms. It fits a lot of thematic designs, too, that want to have a few peaks of power removal, if that's something you want in your cube, or you have saturation of planeswalkers and you want to deal with it, whatever the choice may be, or you don't want to exile things, you want to have them go to the yard. This card, the art alone, goes outside of Power Max just for me, because I could see this, and I'm tempted to put this in my horror genre cube, because I don't think anybody would know the wiser. It just fits. I would also think that it could go into your Chrome Wars if you wanted it in there, because of the art. Looks like someone getting blasted. So there's a lot of ways to look at this card from the art treatment alone that I think it makes it, if this was just anything else, it could be boring. For me, the art fixture makes this card more fascinating than just what the card does.
Agreed. Very versatile. Is it too strong, do you think?
I don't know. Well, we're going to talk about it. So what the audience doesn't know is we're going to double record. We're going to talk about your cube, and then we'll be looking at your cube. Then we'll bias ourselves at that point.
Yeah.
We're jumping ahead. But we will allude to your Chrome Wars cube, which I will kind of give a little bit of a preview, that it will be at our Uber Cubathon Invitational, and you have put it in as a potential for KubeCon 2026. So you've submitted it so it can go up for voting. We're going to talk about that cube in a very future episode. Will be approximately an hour and a half from now, if not earlier.
Yep. And if you're listening, it'll be 1 week from now.
Through the magic of recording, that's how we land. But we're doing double episodes today because we got our private event that we're doing for charity coming up soon. So anywho.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
You're coming to it.
Yeah, you are.
Very cool. First time hearing about
Very
it.
cool.
I've got my smokestack on the ready. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Stage Coach Conductor.
So, well, this is the first card that we're going to talk about today, specifically in detail, where we have prepared, and this is kind of this mechanic that has been introduced in the Secrets of Strixhaven that has caused a lot of buzz because of the way that the prepared mechanic works, as well as the effects that are now available to not just this card, but some absolutely crazy cards throughout this set. So, May, I'm going to go to you on this one because you're always like my judge when we're doing Ubercube. Could you explain for our listeners what prepared is?
Sure. So prepared is essentially when a creature becomes prepared, you create a copy of the spell that you're preparing in exile. So as you all may know, when tokens are no longer on the board or whatever, they cease to be. However, there's a high likelihood that it's going to be like rewritten a little bit in order to make sure that it works. But you're essentially putting like a copy of that spell into exile. And then you may cast that spell at any point, so long as it's prepared. Now, what's cool about it is that even if the creature is removed or whatever, so long as that spell is like prepared in exile, you may cast it. It does not actually care about the creature itself. The creature is just like the way to prepare the spell.
The delivery system.
Are we sure about that? Because there's been a lot of debate, and I think I've heard some other people talk about it, that this particular mechanic is going to cause confusion. And I'm already going to tell you,
there's going to be so much confusion.
There's going to be a lot of misplay and a lot of judge screaming, because I'm confused too. Because the way I interpreted this is
what I've heard from various YouTube videos, etc., where prepared essentially ETBs, you are putting a copy of that spell into exile, and so long as that copy is in exile, you may cast it.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to demonstrate that we shouldn't be doing podcasts, me in particular, because I don't know what I'm talking about. So listeners, you're welcome to go, this guy don't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm equally confused. I'm going to ask for Judge Bones, and I'm going to reach out to Judge Bones, and I'm going to ask Cade too, because they're going to have to really break this one down for me. My understanding is that the creature, and this is probably not helping the listeners at all, I'm going to do some more reading post, but that the creature couldn't do anything until you cast a spell. It's almost like locking down the creature. As in the 2/3 that you're seeing with the Stagecoach Conductor was kind of on hold until you cast a spell. This is where I'm wrong.
May is accurate. So obviously we'll talk. So okay, Sky Coach Conductor, 2 and a blue, creature bird pilot, flash flying vigilance. It enters prepared, and it comes in as a 2/3, right?
Yep.
So because it enters prepared, and maybe that's pretty common on a lot of creatures, right? I don't know if maybe all of them even do.
Okay,
but yes, May is absolutely correct. So it enters, the prepared sends, in this case, all aboard, which is 1 blue instant, exile target non-pilot creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. That spell, right, or a copy of that spell, is now in exile and can be cast anytime. When you cast that spell, then the creature, the source creature, if you will, the delivery system, Sky Coach Conductor in this case, that then becomes unprepared, and that spell is obviously now it's been cast, it's no longer in exile. So that is how the prepared mechanic works.
You both said it right. I understand where this confusion is coming from. Some of these ETB
if you'd
prepared...
like, I can run it. I can read through the official page of how it works.
No, I got it. Some of them come into play prepared, and they can do the thing. Other ones have conditions to become prepared.
Correct.
And that creates a whole nother layer of like confusion. Like, right. Is this card a trap or not? Because I'm signaling this 2/3, whatever it does. But then I got to jump through some things in order to unlock the next spell to be able to use it, versus this enters into the field, making it good because you now have an iteration in exile. Okay, I got it. I'm tracking now.
Yeah.
It's just the two different types of prepared. I wish they had kind of made them all the same, but I know you got to react. They want the other ones where you can continuously reactivate them and abuse them. But I do like the ETB function a little bit more. I think it's cleaner versus, well, you got to do these other 12 little, if you run through these tasks, then you suddenly get this effect back. You can do demonic tutor and all the things. I got it now. There.
I'm also pulling it up right here. Apparently, it says right here, if the prepared creature leaves the battlefield, then you can no longer cast the prepared spell.
Well, that's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, you are correct.
So we're mostly halfway right.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
Well, we can edit that out. That's the beauty of...
No, I'm going to leave it.
No.
Confusion serves a purpose.
Fine. But, so obviously for something like Sky Coach Conductor, you're getting to cast this all-aboard spell at instant speed to exile target non-pilot creature you control Unfortunately, Sky Coach Conductor is a pilot. So let's say in the event that you have ways to copy spells, you wouldn't just be able to continually like bounce, depending on what mana you have available.
You know that's going to happen too, though, right?
Someone is going to attempt to copy their all aboard and bounce their Sky Coach Conductor. I guarantee it's going to happen. And you know who's going to do it? Probably me.
Or Christian.
Well, maybe not. No, Christian will definitely do it.
Christian's
God love
But
him.
it's a pilot. Can't do it.
It's a what? They made this a pilot.
To be fair, if you think about this as the context of like a Felidar Guardian type effect rather than a direct style of effect, right? It becomes a lot more interesting because when you think about like how Felidar Guardian like interacted with a lot of the cards and the cards like Felidar Guardian, it enabled some like really cool like combos to show up even in its limited environment where you could use it as base rate in order to do the kind of flicker wisp thing, or you could do it with a certain combination of cards in order to do really absurd chains of flickering, right? And what's cool about this card is that it has a kind of stopgap to it where you have to pay the 1 mana every time you want to do it, even if you do have a way to reflicker it. And that's a cool way of like rebalancing it out to not quite the extent where it's just like, if you want to do like a lot of flicker things, it's really hard to do fair mid-rangey stuff for lower power environments, right? And this is a really cool stopgap for it while still enabling a flicker thing. So I think that that's a really cool avenue that Prepared lets you explore.
You know what this is really going to go well with and get broken with, and as we talk about other ones that may look a little bit more benign, is Displacer Kitten. Displacer Kitten is going to do more things now than it had ever done before.
Did we finally break Displacer Kitten?
Yeah, we broke it
again.
We broke it.
I think
more.
Displacer Kitten has been broken probably a fair amount by now.
It's getting a lot more broken now. You can see the silly things that are going to happen. Unless they eroded into a cat pilot, then we're in trouble. So, but yeah, silly stuff's going to happen. All right. Let's kind of move over to this next one that you just showed us, Brian, that you opened up a couple of shinies of. What was that really pretty 5-drop shinies that you were displaying on camera?
Oh, the pretty shiny. Emeritus of Ideation, a 5/5 flyer flying ward 2 for 5. Enters prepared, as we mentioned, a lot of the other creatures do that have it. And the prepared spell is Ancestral Recall. As we mentioned before, target player draws 3 cards for 1 blue. Instant speed, and then you can re-prepare it. Is that the proper? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When this creature attacks, you may exile 8 cards, basically treasure cruise, from your graveyard, and if you do, this creature becomes prepared. So you get an Ancestral Recall, and on attack, potentially treasure cruise at instant speed.
So I think this card is really neat, but I also think this card might be a confusing trap. Back to what we now know is if a lot of the fear comes from if this creature dies, then the other spell kind of doesn't matter. It fizzles out.
Well,
right?
let me phrase it to you this way, so that way we can. Why I don't think it's a trap. This is a 6 mana spell. Let's be real. This is a 6 mana spell. You're not playing this for 5. You're playing this for 6. You want to get that like Ancestral Recall the turn you put this down.
Yeah.
Right. So you're paying 6 mana in order to have a flying ward 2 5/5 that draws you 3 cards.
Yeah.
Right. And you can hold up that mana for interaction or whatever to protect it. Right. However, the other thing that's cool about it is that, and unlike just a normal Muldrifter style of effect, you also get to recast the kind of treasure cruisy like we were alluding to, right? So it has the potential to keep getting value every time that it attacks. It can snowball value really, really well.
Yeah.
Like even if you only get just that initial trigger, that is still a 5-drop flyer, 6-drop 5/5 flyer that is coming down, putting pressure and drawing cards, right? That is a great top end.
Yeah.
I think I don't disagree that this is a great top end, and I do think this card is very strong. I think, though, the card evaluation sometimes on these cards can be a little off because we're seeing Ancestral Recall on here. It's the desire to want to do that. Meanwhile, nobody plays Arcanus the Omnipotent in their Power Vintage Cubes any longer. Which
Arcanus
does the
is
same.
not a direct threat, though. Arcanus really struggles to put pressure on. Like, I'm somebody who really likes Arcanus as a card.
Me too.
Because you use it in control cores, etc.
Yeah.
I'm going to protect my pieces, draw cards, and then eventually just outgrind you. Emeritus is a threat, right? Like, this is a top-end creature that's going to put pressure on, and you can draw cards to protect it, right?
Arcanus also doesn't have Ward 2. and then
Exactly.
to draw the 3 cards, Arcanus would have to have haste and tap itself.
And tap.
Where Emeritus, you don't have to tap it, and it doesn't require it to have haste.
Yeah.
But
It's
I wanted to
just
draw
really
that
good.
cross comparison because I think there's a lure to this because it says Ancestral Recall, whereas it's really Ancestral Recall, sure, but it's Arcanus and it's Treasure Cruise.
It's Mole Drifter.
on a flyer where Mole Drifter actually is fundamentally could just be a better card that nets you value sooner because you're waiting till turn. That's where the trappiness kind of comes on. Is this win more? Is this top end finisher? What is this?
I don't think you're ever going to call a 6 mana threat plus refill half your hand. I don't think I cannot call that a trap. I just can't. I think for a top end card at even at 6 mana, I think it's just there's too much value there for it to be trappy. And I think the fact that it draws cards is kind of that's the reason why. Is because you are drawing cards. It's not some other kind of effect, right? I don't think so. I don't agree with that.
So, final question here then. How long does something like this stay in a Powered Vintage Cube when it's going against, what's the Sphinx that has the warp that lets you draw cards and all a Quantum Riddler.
These
type cards, right?
Riddler, yeah.
So, where does that compete against this?
And this might be wrong. I might be entirely off here. I don't feel like that this is power vintage level. Because the issue is that, like I said, this is a 6 mana spell, right? Let's say you manage to turbo it out. You're able to get it on the board, refill your hand after turboing it out, right? Like, what are the things that are more threatening than that, like getting this down early, right? And that was not a rhetorical question. I'm actually genuinely asking.
I honestly think that it's maybe that Ward 2 that might push it to being viable in a vintage cube, because especially if you get to power it out early, Ward 2 does mean that unless your opponent has a way to get rid of it at a very low mana cost, could be an oust, could be a path or a plow or something like that. But you still got, but you're still getting great value out of it, and you've still got that opportunity there that you can repeat that value. Exiling 8 cards from a graveyard is not a particularly difficult thing to do in a vintage cube. It's not a difficult thing to do in a lot of cubes. So do I think it's going to be this absolute house in a vintage cube? No, I don't think it is. But do I think it's going to be a powerful card? Yes.
Yeah, I think it's glitz and glam a little bit. And I think something like if we put it against a road, that'll be like this very long time, 5-year at least holding staple. I think Emrys of Ideation will get challenged in a very short amount of time. That's just where I'm at. When we see where you're getting the 5-drop slots and the investment.
I think there's a lot of cubes that this could have a home.
I think so too. I think way outside of Powered Max. I think if you wanted to enjoy the idea of having Ancestral Recall in some thematic build, this opens up that opportunity of doing something that wouldn't be so broken. Or if you had a Graveyard Shenanigans cube where you're actually taking advantage of the reload because you're self-milling, this is really great. If this is in the Exile files where if we're casting this card from
It's
Exile,
made for that cube.
It's made for that cube.
Beautiful in that cube.
Right. That's where this effect and these words can kind of pull you in, but I think they look like they belong here, but they belong a lot more places.
Yeah.
Right?
You know a card that I think would go along with it pretty well? I don't remember what it's called, but it's like that 5-drop that you can pay 2 life and surveil 2.
Nope. No idea.
Oh, Doom Whisperer.
Doom Whisperer is fantastic.
Yeah, Doom Whisperer. Like, if your cube's already running things like Doom Whisperer, I feel like that this is the card that, like, partners with that really well.
I would agree with that, and that would be the Graveyard Shift.
Everyone likes slinging spells.
And I run that in the Munson cube, but unfortunately this is blue and not very metal. So here we are. I mean, it's metal, but blue, it's not metal.
One thing to consider as well is when you're trying to re-prepare, I guess we're sticking with that one, this creature, it's still swinging for 5 in the air.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
It's a pretty big. It's a great finisher. It will make games come to a close. No doubt there. Yeah. I just think that any old dragon, like there's a lot of dragons that have Ward 2 and 3 and some more that also do the same build. They just don't net you the cards. It's just it's a flavor conversation that people will have. I think it's going to look cool. They're going to be pretty. They're going to be shiny. You got some shinies now that you've opened up of this. I think it'll be neat. I won't be mad about drafting this in a powered vintage cube. 540, I think I can get away with this. I wonder if this lands in the 360. Still questioning that. That's where it gets a little weird.
I mean, I suppose it would depend on the list and what you've got at the top end as far as your blue finishes. I think that like I say, I would never be mad to see it, and I would never fault anybody for trying to put it in, regardless of the numbers.
I know we spent a lot of time on this card, but I think these type of conversations are going to come up about these cards.
Well,
the evaluations are hard.
I think, obviously the prepared mechanic and anything that has this, this other side, right? This spell that goes into exile that is part of the Power 9, like Ancestral, like Black Lotus, they're going to generate a lot of buzz and a lot of interest, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited for it.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next one, all right? Green. I love that green's getting some love.
This is love.
Yes, and you know me, I do love some ooze.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is kinetic ooze. A green, 1, X. For a creature ooze, it enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. When it enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment with mana value X or less. If X is 5 or more, you draw a card. If X is 10 or more, double the number of +1/+1 counters on any number of other target creatures. A lot of text.
Yeah, this replaces Rex Age if you're still running it, and I am, in my mind. And the reason why this replaces Rex Age and my powered maximum cube is because this is scalable. This is also pay 1 green, destroy target Mox.
Correct.
That's what makes this so powerful. Is that
I think that it would even be comparable to like Acidic Slime as well. Because sure, Acidic Slime has more targets and it has the potential to 2-for-1, right? But a lot of the issue with Acidic Slime is that when it kind of comes down and generates its value, it's just cool, now you have a death touch creature on the board. This can become a threat.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure, it doesn't have keywords or anything, but it also doesn't need it.
No.
It scales with the game very well. And I definitely agree that it can do the Rex Age thing very well, just that its floor, but it's also just a really good X spell. I really appreciate that it's just destroy up to, right?
Yeah.
So we'll kind of jump to this one too. This one breaches over into your Chrome Wars, and I'll explain why. And it's also, I feel, definitely reaches into Uber's Artifact Cube. For replacements, one, for me, I have a distribution of 1/1 counters. This plays into not the modular theme, but the other things I'm doing to do proliferation in that cube, which is already a menace, but it distributes it to a different cause.
The art's pretty metal, right? Which is also pretty cool. That's awesome. And then on top of that, it's great late game. And then if you and then a question, that's actually my third point. In your Uber Bear's powered cube, would you want this to destroy Mox, or would you want to have a Force of Vigor instead?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah. I currently don't run Force of Vigor, but Force of Vigor is also limited to no body. I like this because it has a body that's now going to be on the board. So, yeah, Force of Vigor is free. But
the reason I was asking that, and you kind of triggered this thought, is if you pay X = 0 to destroy Mox, whatever, it's going to the graveyard. There's no counters on it.
Yeah.
Force of Vigor would go to the graveyard as well. Even though I think you're exiling 1 green card. So you are net down 1 card, but not a mana. So I was curious what your thoughts were on that.
You're right. There wouldn't be a residual body if I did the 0. That's correct. Super dead.
I mean, 1 mana creature-based removal is kind of sweet. It's not instant speed, which I think is the main downside, but being able to eat the Mox is just real nice.
It's X or less, for argument's sake, that we could, sink an extra additional mana in this, kill the Mox, and then have a 1/1 residual post, and still have a body on the field. I'm okay with the scalable, and when this comes in, this has early game, late game potential.
Listen, keep going though. 1 mana, destroy an Urza token, right?
Yeah.
That is true.
2 mana, destroy a Skull Clamp.
Yeah.
It's
very modular.
Absolutely.
But it also creates a residual threat. So, yeah, Force of Vigor is free. I would have a hard time comparing those two because they have 2 different purposes. I guess this will let me have a body to complete the game. Not only am I being reactionary, but I'm also now being proactive with my attacking. I like this. I vote this in a lot of my cubes. And then on top of that, again, the art isn't your typical ooze slime type pictures. It's not gelatinous. It's spiky. I think that opens up a whole new array of, like you said, metal. It fits into the metallic sheen of a lot of people that are doing these robot world, artifact centric, or space cubes and all these things. Because this is something that's on, it's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not indigenous, but it's on the terrain. It's part of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's you've got these space wars and the chrome wars going on, but this is going to be terrestrial to the different planets that you're dealing with in your storytelling. That's what makes this neat, in my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah, and the art does convey that. I agree.
Yeah. I think definitely flavor-wise it could fit there.
Yeah, love it. All right, let's move on. Next one. Who wants to take?
Ambitious augmenter.
Nice.
I think so. That's a fun word to say, ambitious augmenter. But for 1 green, you get a creature, turtle wizard, because everybody needs a turtle wizard in their life for a 1/1 increment. Whenever you cast a spell, if any amount of mana you spent is greater than the creature's power and toughness, put a 1 counter on this creature. When this creature dies, if it had 1 or more counters on it, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, then put this creature's counters on that token.
It's like Evolve on steroids, man.
It's Evolve on steroids. So Thomas was highlighting this one is a pretty good, very early game or even later game card that you could roll out. It's not harmed by different parts of the game, but this is a nice little green threat.
Is anyone else a little sad? Okay, and I understand we've talked about... Well, I'll just ask the question. Is anyone else a little sad that there are no evasive abilities on either of these creatures?
Yeah, it's okay, though. I'm willing to have a few thumpers.
I'm a little sad.
I'm going to have some thumpers.
I'm a little sad that there isn't a trample on either of these. I'm a little sad that there just isn't something. I know that there's value attached to both of these creatures, one on ETB, one on death. But I feel like at the very least, the Ambitious Augmenter, given that it's 2026 Magic and a vanilla creature is inevitably going to have a little bit of a tougher time. I'm trying not to use the exclusive lens of Vintage Cube with which to look at these cards. But I just feel like in Modern Magic, you kind of need a little something. Look at the other cards that we've talked about. Yes, okay, there's a higher mana cost available or the higher mana cost associated with them, but there's so many other things that they're doing. You know, you got Flying and Ward 2 and Vigilance and Prepared and Ancestral Recall. And this is cool, it's simple, but they're both also rares.
I like the versatility of card quality based on cost. This is a 1-drop. I don't want my 1-drops to have Trample, Hexproof, and Haste all the time.
But I do.
I know you do.
Why would I play Kinetic Ooze for 2 for a 1/1 when I can just, pay 1 for a Charging Badger that's got Trample? Why would I do so?
So any final thoughts on that? That's kind of what I'm looking at for my 540 right now. These things change. We're going to get more intel. Any wrap on this one?
I don't think Ambitious Augmenter is very good for the 540. Don't get me wrong. Experiment 1 has the Regenerate and can stick around and whatever, and this is kind of feels like the spiritual successor of that card slot, and in some ways you could run both. But I wouldn't run this just to run it unless you have a way to, again, give it trample or have it be relevant. Because sure, it scales, but without any other cards to really enable it, it's going to have a better home in let's say slower, more battle cruisery, I'm trying to build up a bunch of counters style environment.
I would agree.
Right?
I would agree. And I honestly think that the lack of evasion on it is kind of what hurts it in that higher power environment.
I want to add this. All 5 cards we just talked about, which is really neat. I'm talking about putting my powered maximum, pushed cube at 540. Every one of these are fully transferable to other cubes too. These
Something
are
to
not
note
exclusive or locked. These are just neat additions to the different archetypes in the 540, but these do expand across a much wider reach of cubes. This is not exclusive to Power Maximum, any of these cards we've talked about, in my opinion.
So something to note is that I was looking through the list and seeing, just in this limited environment for just Strixhaven, how many various things enable it to get that evasion and whatnot. And most of the only other thing just in green that I saw so far is a card that I'm even considering for the Fey Cube. It's called Thornfist Striker. And while I'm not sure it would go in the deck with that turtle, it's basically the only one in green, just green, that enables trample. It's Thornfist Striker is a 2 and a green for an elf druid 3/3. Has ward 1 and infusion. Creatures you control have +1/+0 and trample so long as you gain life this turn. And I am a big fan of like cheap little things that give the rest of your board other benefits. It reminds me a lot of
All this.
Cactus Sure Shot was the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah. There's just an easier solution here. We just got to make Rancor go back in these cubes again, and then we don't have to worry about this ever again. Rancor solves all
I
these
do
problems.
love Rancor, but
Just put Rancor.
what I
There are many
particularly love
copies.
about
I love
Thornfish
me a
Striker,
I would slam Rancor there without any shame.
oh definitely.
I love Rancor.
What I like about Thornfish Striker is that while it's not true for the Fey Cube, it works for environments that you have the one drop where you gain life whenever a creature enters. There's
Soul
a few of them.
Sisters, the Soul Sisters.
Soul Sisters, any of the green Soul
Yeah,
Sisters?
any of the Soul Sisters effects. There's a
Mhm.
green one as well.
Mhm.
Like any of those works really well with this. But I'm going to be thinking about this for the Fey Cube because of food, where you can just crack a food, gain some life, and now your creatures can start pushing for damage. Big fan of that. And plus, it's an elf, and I like that.
So, moving off the vintage cube discussion, I would be totally remiss if we didn't talk about the Fey Cube. I did put a nugget in here for you. I added to the show notes a very
Segue.
particular card that I think I would very much love to see in the Fey Cube for 1,000 reasons. May, do you see the card on the show notes? You want me to read this one, or
I
you want to
do.
read this one? I love this card for the Fey Cube. I love everything about it.
How about you read it?
And the card that I was discussing for you, May, that I think would be really pretty, and anybody that's running any kind of thematic design that follows along the path of the Fey Cube, lower power but really neat, lots of flavor. Diary of Dreams, artifact book. This is our first edition of a book as a card type, which is really neat. So I just screams Fey Cube to me. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a page counter on this artifact. Pay 5, which is 1,000,000 mana. We know this. Tap, draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each page counter on this artifact. That's where this card gets pretty neat. It kind of encourages a neat little spells matters type sub-theme within the Fey Cube. I dig this. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I actually think that would make a good home. Granted, if we're being honest, the only real decks that's really going to want it is like the kind of spell slinging or like the adventure decks or somewhere in Is It.
Yeah,
but
like all the good ones.
I think that is a cost that is worth it, considering that there's already so many instants and sorceries. And adventure cards
this is
and
a
et cetera.
slam jam.
Like this is generically a good card. I really love the flavor of it. I think that it's a perfect bet.
Yeah,
I think that's going to find a home in a lot of low to mid power commander decks as well. I think this will be a pretty popular part, and it's uncommon.
It just rewards you for playing the game.
Just rewards you for playing the game.
I like cards
Exactly.
that just kind of clock you're playing
Me
the
too.
game, and it feels like you got a little level up
Me
because you
too.
got there.
Yep.
Yeah, I dig this vibe. I don't mind paying 3 to draw a card. I don't mind paying 2 to draw a card in lower power environments.
And there's similar like this ain't the first time we've seen an artifact that has some kind of condition that allows you to draw cards. But I think, like you said, for the Fae, looks nice.
This plays pretty good whenever you, like, say, for instance, cast Ancestral Recall, Ponder, maybe Portent, and then you follow up with a Preordained, then you just tap Diary of Dreams. I like that.
I want to see that cube. I want to see where all those cards are in a cube. That sounds incredible.
Look, I'm just
That's
happy
the-
that there
the
were
thing-
any cards that were in this set that I'm actually interested in. Like, there's
Sounds like
also
the
this
deck I
like
ran last
Goblin
night.
Warlock that has Infusion, but it has Menace too. So it's just like, yes, I get a 4/3 with Menace for 3 mana, so long as I crack a food. That's cool.
So
Right.
now I want to switch over to Brian's Cube, which we're going to do a whole episode about here very shortly for the following week for the listeners. But I want to talk about the Chrome Wars. I found 2 cards that I think have potential based on what we know about your list that I think are flavor wins for you, and I have reasons. So the first one I have, Brian, you want to read that one because it's really long, and I like it when the guests read it and I don't?
Yeah, I gotcha. The Dawning Archaic. This is a legendary creature for 10 colorless. A 7/7. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. Has reach. And then whenever the Dawning Archaic attacks, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost, which is awesome. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. Love this art.
Yeah, that's very Aliens, in my opinion. It kind of fits. It kind of fits your vibe that you're doing with this space, Battlestar Galactica type theme you're doing, whatever it is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that more. We're alluding to that, but I also think this card, as we kind of do the broad strokes on cubes, I think this would be neat in Sandwich's Graveyard Shift cube. I think this is a great little graveyard payoff. I'm not ashamed to bring this out a 7/7 and then start getting my spells back to start doing ugly Snapcaster type things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's very expensive. Like, I know you do get that cost reduction, but 10 mana is pretty bonkers. It's a 7/7 with reach, and you do get that added ability on attack, which is cool. I think this is a fun card. I think it's going to be a heck of a challenge for someone to make it work. But I think, like you mentioned, the art alone should make me want to put it in any cube I can put it in.
I don't think
incredible.
it's that difficult. I think you bend this in your yard, you reanimate this, pay 10 life, attack with it, they kill it, you recast reanimate, and they didn't win.
This is apparently, it's April, right? Fantasy Christmas Land ended 4 months ago. Okay, just so we're clear.
I just think it's neat from a flavor win. If you've got a graveyard synergy cube or any kind of sci-fi genre, or like Cavs Fangelo has the horror cube, he has Cult of Cthulhu cube, and then I have Uberbear's horror cube. I'm staring at this card, wondering if I can pull it off. I know it's not the best stats in the world, but I'm okay with. But I'm okay with having a few.
Needs trample.
Everything needs,
or a rancor.
That's why you need rancor.
Needs
rancor. We can solve all this.
Make
with
rancor great. Even
also
greater
thinking
than it has.
Trample would be very ideal on this, because the comparison I'm drawing is I have the Promised Emrakul in the base set of the 360 of the Chrome Wars, and obviously it's a cost reduction as a colorless fatty. That it's a cost reduction per delirium, for each card type. So it's not uncommon to cost that for 6, 7, depending on how long the game goes.
6, 7,
13. Oh God, no!
Yeah,
sorry, we're keeping that in as well. 6, 7.
No.
Anyway,
Wait.
I've got young kids. Okay, I hear it every day.
Fair.
Okay,
and that's
I'm going to
that's
hit
the
y'all with the
correlation I'm
hot
drawing
take
there.
about this card.
All right, hot take coming in.
Fake cube.
No.
Belongs in the fake.
No,
cube.
my hot take is that, when we're looking at this card, I get, a bad Dreadhorde Arcanist impression to an extent. The whole reason why is that, Dreadhorde Arcanist just comes down for cheap. It lets you recast things from your graveyard that are also cheap. If you have ways to buff up its power, it lets you cheat bigger things. But more importantly, it has trample, right? Dreadhorde Arcanist has all these attributes that this particular card would have left. But where Dreadhorde Arcanist has trample and can cheat out little biddly little spells and comes out early, this one comes out later, has no trample, and it's just a big body, and then lets you recast the various things that are in your graveyard. Which, I'm going to hit you with the hotter take here. The thing that makes Dreadhorde Arcanist really powerful for what it does is because it comes out and puts more pressure about your early game removal, your early game burn, your early game whatever cards, and makes them relevant again. While this comes down after you've done the setup, after you've already cast all these spells, and they weren't enough to get you there, right? So, trying to think of where this would go, right? You're looking for self-mill instants and sorceries, maybe a flashback core, right?
Yep.
Some kind of core that cares about tossing a bunch of instants and sorceries in the graveyard. It's no longer an instant or sorcery, right? This is no longer the thing that you're wanting to hit. What happens if you mill this card? What happens if this card just sits in your hand the whole time because you just don't have enough instants and sorceries? What happens if you don't have anything relevant for it to bring back? There's just so many things that can go wrong that makes it magical Christmas land.
Yes.
In a way that something like Dreadhorde Arcanist doesn't have to struggle with.
Yeah.
Right.
I like these type cards because of the versatility they provide. Curators that are doing lower powered. This is a mythic rare. This is a card that I would 100% put in the...
It's cool.
Yeah, I would put this in the Dumpster Fire Project in a heartbeat.
It belongs in that cube.
It's beautiful.
Oh, yes.
It's beautiful in there. This is the type of card that maybe this shines for me more than it does in others, because I'm like, oh, well, 10 mana isn't so bad, the Dumpster Fire Project, and it does something that's very Snapcaster on, and we'll see where this goes, but this is going to be one of those, this is going to be the bulk rare mythic that you open up, and people are going to lose their minds, or somebody's going to find a way to magically break this card in their very neat, slower cube. Yeah. I mean, it has a lot of potential to unlock here.
We'll see.
I think it's great in low power.
Yeah, we'll see.
And if it happens to be, that bulk rare status, I'll be happy to pick up a 30-cent foil copy and playtest it.
This is a bar cube, too. This card is like a bar cube type situation all day.
Oh,
You're doing silly, magical bar cube stuff. I like these type cards.
I think the appeal of the magical Christmas land of it is there. I think it's relevant.
Yeah. Never claimed it was good. Just claimed looks really fun and the art is glorious.
On point. Art's on point.
Now, let's talk about the next one. All right, Brian, did you bring your tinfoil hat that I told you to bring? Because we're about to go tinfoil hat land here for a second. We're still in the Chrome Wars, which we're going to talk about, but we need you to have your tinfoil hat. Yeah, there we go. All right, so the next one, the argument that I'm making, and I'm considering this for Uberbear's Artifact Cube. I'm considering this for any artifact-based synergy cube. Arc of Hunger. 2 colorless and Boros. You get an artifact. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, this artifact deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Tap, mill a card. You may play that card this turn. Now, also, I'll go ahead and expand this into some kind of horror genre. If you're running any kind of Amoket desert-themed cubes, anything that follows kind of the Egyptian
Indiana Jones
vibe, anything you're doing like that, this card opens up a lot. And that's why I'm going to lean towards the Chrome Wars again. So this is why I told you to put on your pointy hat here for a minute. So a lot of people talk about this. We got the UFO, UAP buzz all over the country right now, just popping off. People are going crazy talking about that. And I enjoy this show. It's fun. While I'm waiting on airplanes a lot. It's a little YouTube channel that I've been watching. It's fun. Debunked kind of, I guess, pointy hat, or, not pointy hat, but tinfoil hat type mysteries that people are putting down. It's called The Y-Files. And I've enjoyed that. It's by AJ Gentile, or Gentile. I think I'm saying that right. Andrew Gentile. And it's just a fun kind of YouTube channel that I watch. And one of the things they talk about a lot is they go into like the Book of Enoch and they talk about the mysteries of the Ark of the Covenant. And that's kind of what this is portraying and how it's a mass weapon and aliens and all this intersection of this religious concept meets the otherworldly that we know as UFOs and whatever. I'm not going down that path. It's just fun, something to do while I'm killing time in a Houston airport. But it's really neat to look at the Ark of the Hunger going back to the Area 51, top men, the end of Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they're putting this away because they know that this is a weapon of mass destruction, the Ark of the Covenant from the Raiders series or the Indiana Jones series. I just think this card is like flavor all day. And it's weird because it's in Boros. And it does kind of in a weird way fit your terrestrial versions of some of the planets that you're playing in the Chrome Wars, where your aliens are coming in, that there's other civilizations. I'm reaching really far, but this is a neat kind of other cultural weapon that they're chasing. That's my pitch.
I don't think it's that far of a reach. I feel that
I could reach a little shorter. It has the aesthetic of the Stargate show. I forgot what it's called.
Stargate. SG1.
It's just called Stargate.
Yeah, SG1.
But it's kind of like that relic alien technology type look to it, and like that could be relevant.
Yeah, they kind of
so the Boros section in the Chrome Wars anyway is also lackluster. It's probably after drafting it 8 to 10 times now, it's probably the least drafted color combination, and it's probably the one that I need to bolster a little more. It's done well, but this is probably not too slow because, as you kind of alluded to, the Chrome Wars is not a hit the ground running kind of cube. It is definitely more of your 3 and 4 drops are going to start the game, and this fits right in. I do agree with that.
Yeah, it's neat from kind of going into the different Vorthos of the UFO phenomenon and going into your interplanetary war that you got going on and the terrestrial aspects of it and ancient civilizations. We could go down this path. I think and she said, pulls in Stargate, right? It pulls in all these neat little ideas into that cool little core that maybe all of your places are being invaded because they're trying to find that ultimate weapon, the Ark of the Covenant. There we go. It's kind of neat, though. I think it's reachy, but thematically, it kind of gives purpose. It's not just fighting over resources. Kind of cool. Tin hat, put it on. We're going to short time a little bit because we've talked about some of these. So Uberbear's Artifact Cube are more artifacts to go on. We've already talked about the Ark of the Hunger, and we've talked about Kinetic Ooze. The other card that I have that's of interest to me that I haven't fully locked in on yet, but it's been mentioned to me is Micah, Reader of Ruins for 3 colorless and red. Legendary creature, human artificer, ward, pay 3 life. Whenever you cast an instant source spell, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy for a 4/4. This is really neat because it plays into my artifact sacrifice kind of Rakdos theme that I have in that cube, and it may give like an engine piece for people who want to go that route. Other than just the ETB, LTB, this is kind of right in that middle. It creates the sack portion outside of KCI and all that. It just and it's a body that can go and attack, so it threatens the machines. I like this for artifact-centric. Not a huge fan of the art, if I'm being honest with you. It's a little different than the rest of it. It's an artificer, that's fine, but it's a little bit more Renaissance and dress explorer. It's different. I don't know. It's not my 100% vibe on the cube. I'm a little tossed on that because I want things to look a little bit more metallic.
I think they kind of dress like a pirate.
Yeah, it's a weird pirate reading
kind
a
of
book.
a pirate vibe going on, but it's not a pirate.
It's more of a library. It's more of a librarian.
It's kind of got the in sync hairdo going on, glasses.
There's a lot going on that doesn't make a great deal of sense.
Like a semi swashbuckling Justin Timberlake or something. I don't know. It's a weird vibe, but the card is really cool. I love anything that has like copying abilities on it. And obviously, copying instant and sorcery spells again. Kind of the spell slinging is a fairly common theme that we've talked about a few times. So I like it. Cool card.
Yeah, so that kind of concludes the artifact genre. We've covered some of them. We talked about the Chrome Wars. Then we go into the Graveyard Synergy, the Churn cubes, a lot of them out there, whether or not you got a Bug Cube or like Sandwich's Graveyard Shift or Uber's Horror Cube, these type things. There's a couple of cards in here, two of them in particular that I find interesting for those type of environments. One, I'll skip ahead a little bit, it's just the card Flashback. Again, it's got the elephant on there from whatever, I don't remember what the name of the thing is, the group or the college. That's the only thing for me that takes away from the visuals for me to put it like in a horror cube. But I like the card and I like the mechanic. It's like a very affordable Snapcaster Mage, if you will. It's literally the card Flashback. It costs 1 red. Target instant sorcery in your graveyard gains Flashback until the end of turn. Flashback cost is its mana cost for an instant. Usman wrote this up, if I'm not mistaken. He said the card in testing for, I guess, his semi-power max cube seemed like it was a little trappy and didn't do much. But I like the card.
I love it.
I think it's fun.
Okay, I want to take this is Grave Researcher, 2 and a black, creature troll warlock. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Then if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, this creature becomes prepared. So now the fact that you've got this repetitive re-prepare, if we're going to label it that feature, is fantastic. And then the exile spell is reanimate. 1 black, target creature card from a graveyard under the battlefield. Under your control, you lose life equal to that card's mana value. I think this is going to be one of the money cards because it's going to see a ton of play, especially in Commander. I think it's going to be a huge Commander card. I think cubes are just going to love it for that, again, that kind of repetition that it has. And I think this is really cool. And if nothing else, it's a 3-mana 3/3 that lets you surveil.
Or in the case of someone like me and Sandwich, we both avoid through intent the card Reanimate in our horror cubes. We found that they were just too powerful. I got called out pretty early for or turn 1 bend Grave Titan through some means, turn 2 reanimate Grave Titan, game over. It just didn't set up the gameplay that I wanted it to do. And Grave Titan is in there for reasons. It's very powerful in my top end, but it was kind of just enough to say I don't want reanimate in there because when you're doing these self-mill decks, it really becomes a card that's easily abused. I want them to play 2 and 3 and 4 sometimes for their reanimation, and 1's a little bit too optimal sometimes for these flavor wind cubes, in my opinion. And Sandwich experienced the same thing in his Graveyard Shift cube. So this brings us back to the idea, well, it has, again, reanimate on it, but now it has a little bit more hoops to jump through and a creature attached to it. I'm a huge fan. That kind of concludes that section. I'm going to short time on the FEM again because, time, and we want to respect everybody's time. I'm looking at Emeritus of Woe, which is a 5/4 for 4, basically, Vampire Warlock that has Demonic Tutor on it. Kind of falls into the same thing I just said about Reanimate. The Fem Cube, I don't want to run Demonic Tutor, but I really like having access to this idea of Demonic Tutor in the cube that kind of has some hurdles to jump through. It enters prepared. It's just kind of a vanilla 5/4. There's nothing overly special about it. The art is gorgeous, and I just want to be able to have a Demonic Tutor that you're paying more for that has a body on it that's also threatening. That's all this is. And if you blink it, which I have a blink deck, this gets really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is such a commander card again. There's a lot of very, very good commander cards in this set. And I think Emeritus of Woe is definitely a very, very commander. Yeah, but it's not just a commander card. It's a commander card that's also got Demonic Tutor on it that is repeatable. That's why I think this is going to be, again, another one of the money cards from this set.
So I'm a huge fan of that one, but now we're going to give something to the peasant people. The peasant cubes and those curations where they're following the uncommon patterns. I found 2 cards in here I think are great that Samich and I have been talking about. We couldn't have him on this episode, but we'll talk about his particular updates whenever he gets through Strixhaven, because I know that Samich has a long laundry list between that and the Exile Files in particular that probably are going to get some upgrades from this very versatile set that we're seeing in Secrets of Strixhaven. The one card that I want to talk about really quickly, I think it's elegant, I think it's beautiful, the art is fantastic, is Dissection Practice. For 1 black, you get an instant. Target opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. Up to 1 target creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn, and up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. This is a very elegant combat trick for that type of
I love it.
This is just fantastic.
It does 3 things for 1 mana.
It
does 3 things for 1 mana
Broken.
at instant speed. That's insane.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I love this
the
card.
first ability, losing a life and gaining a life, is like,
Sure, whatever. The other 2 are fantastic.
The other 2 are incredible. That's wonderful.
They really adjust combat in those type of creature-centric environments, and I like to see that. And plus, the art is just wildly disturbing. Everything about this card is just fun to me.
Yeah.
I like it. I like everything it stands for. What do you guys think before I move forward?
I look forward to testing it. It's going to be in my very low to the ground cube. That's CMC 4 or less. I look forward to testing it there.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun in bar cubes and whatnot too. I think this type of cube with just the art alone is something that I'd love to see in a pub type situation. You know, it cracked me up. I'm having a few beers and I see this weird whatever, and I'm like, all right, cool, you got me. I just think it's great. I love it. So the next one I got is pretty sick, and I'm going to combo this one up with 3 other cubes too. I'm going to add this card. I suggest this for Peasant. I also suggest this from a 2-headed giant cube, and then I'm putting this in the Munson cube for different reasons. This card is sick. It's Thunder Drum Soloist. For 1 colorless and a red, you get a creature dwarf bard. You talked about Bardcore recently, May. I was giggling when I saw this card because you mentioned Bardcore being a thing in the metal genre.
Not hardcore, bardcore.
Yeah. So this is Bardcore is all get out. Like, this guy is just shredding these drums. But reach, and it's a 1/3 Opus. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. If 5 or more mana is spent to cast this spell, this creature deals 3 damage to each opponent instead. Fantastic.
Interesting that it's got a keyword on that ability, right?
I like it. This is the best iteration of this we've seen to date. This is highly expandable.
I agree. I think it's a really cool card. And again, what do both of these cards have in common? Again, like you said, Peasant Cube friendly. They're both uncommons. I think this is really cool, and I love the fact that you've chosen 2 cards that kind of go pretty nicely together. Very nice.
These are gorgeous. In terms of the applicable to anybody that runs a 2-headed giant cube or are going to do any drafts that are 2-headed giant seal, this is going to be a house. We got some honorable mentions. I'm not going to read all these. The charm section is absolutely fantastic. Every single one of them are highly versatile. If you're looking for something in your cubes, they're just, I'm not even going to read them all.
All reprints. They're all reprints, obviously. All these charms are.
They're wonderful. I think they're great.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then the next subset that I have here that I think is really neat, the final honorable mention that I am going to put in the Munson Cube that I think is neat is Noctamoon Lore Spinner. For 2 colorless and a red. You get a Jackal Wizard 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, if that player has fewer cards in hand, this creature becomes prepared. So very good for aggro decks. Has built-in Wheel of Fortune. I like this a lot. This is great, actually. It's a nice little aggro card to do some reloads. I dig this card for a lot of reasons. If you're looking for access to a card, Wheel of Fortune, that's on the reserve list and very expensive, and you want to have this effect in your cube, I'm putting this in my 2-headed giant cube because I run a wheel-type Punisher deck, right? These all things are fun if you're doing this in bar cubes. This is the card I kind of wanted to end out on. Everything about this, desert cubes would like this. It's just fun, flavorful. Big win.
Cool.
This set's a huge W.
It is.
Me.
It's a cool set. Let's just finish it with some feedback, some comments from our guest. But again, Brian, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on for this one, and we're going to stick around and talk about your cube. So for our listeners, watch out for this next week. But just final thoughts from you on this set in general.
I think this set's fantastic. I don't. When I was younger, I would splurge on a booster box or whatever. Most sets, I don't do that much anymore. I did splurge for a collector's booster box on this one, so I was very excited about it. Also, I learned Wheel of Fortune, good card, who knew? And then I think that there's a lot of cards that fit in a lot of the environments that I'm thinking about. And I have this unfortunate desire every time I see a set that really interests me to build something around it. And I'm already cooking something about this set.
I'll add the part that if you do like a Sharpie cube or something like that, and you're just looking for,
Right.
these cards already have a lot of the words that you might want to see in your cube. Your Sharpie has to do a lot less work. And I kind of dig that too. I really see a lot of bar cubes popping up from this set and playing well into it. In addition to a whole spectrum of cubes. I mean, this covered artifacts, this covered a little bit of the Fae, this covered graveyard synergies, this covered spell slingers. This set is robust. And for cube curators, I think this is a little bit of like return to form for what we want to see in Magic. I love this set. It's like one of my favorites of recent history.
I agree. I concur.
You want to start out?
I concur.
You want to start out going to our socials, thanking our patron that's sitting right here, Brian?
To our Patreons, and I'm going to start with Brian, Mr. Christensen himself, and that delicious-looking glass of beer that you're drinking. Thank you very much to you and all of our Patreons for the ongoing support. To David Wellesley, Jeff Stumpo, Chris Fitzgerald, Timber Dragon, Brian, Cincy, love you. Keaton Schultz, Lord Justice, Preston, and Sam McKenna. Big thank you to all of you guys for helping keep the lights on at UberCube.
And we're still looking for that help on Spotify, because we're getting digs on Spotify, and this happens to everybody because we're getting a much wider reach. I can see the places. I know kind of what it's happening is because people are clicking on it trying to get recipes and wherever they're at, and they're like, holy shit, what is this? And that's a 1-star review because they didn't tell me how to make this dish my grandmother made. So I know that's happening. So if anybody wants to go in, they love our show, feel free to bump us some stars on the Spotify. It'd be helpful.
Yes.
It gets reach because, when you get down those lower numbers, I'm a person that likes to be A+. A+, baby.
A+. That's what we want. 5 stars.
Honor roll.
You'll always be 5 stars in my heart, Anthony. Facebook.com/
I did it.
Yeah. Facebook.com/group/MTGCube. Keep the conversation going then over there. And you can find us at Twitter at UberCubeMTGPod or reach us via email at UberCubeMTGPodcast@gmail.com. Come hang out with us on the Discord. As always, lots of cool conversations going on over there. Also at Bluesky, ubercubemtgpodcast.bsky.social. If you're a YouTuber, tubers, Ubercube MTG Podcast 747. And once again, big thank you to all of our patrons at patreon.com/UberCube. And without further ado,
thank you, Brian, for always supporting us from the beginning and for being our friend.
One of our OGs. OGs
so
over here.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All right, we're going to say the thing that we always say here at UberCube. Brian, you just say it by yourself. What you got? What do we say?
Happy cubing.
Happy cubing.
Happy cubing.
Happy giving.
Have a good one.